Everyone, thank you so much for coming out on a Thursday evening. If any of you guys are also at the event, please come take your seats. So I'd love to start by acknowledging the Gadigal people of this nation that we meet on today and are also meeting on virtually. We pay our respects to the elders, both past, present and emerging. So I'd love to get a set of hands. Who's been to Fishburners before? That's pretty good statistics, about 50% in the room. A little bit about Fishburners. We're an innovation hub. We focus on early stage founders. We try and bring as many cool events and cool programs to them to get them to their next dreams and their next startup goals. So I won't keep you too long, but we also want to give our friends at Young Entrepreneurs Hub, all of you guys, a 20% discount for your first 3 months at Fishburners as well. So please come and talk to me afterwards if you guys are interested. Without further ado, I will pass to our incredible panelists and speakers tonight. Thank you so much.
Well done. How are you, Brie? How's everyone? How's the food?
Awesome.
Right. Okay. We usually hold these pretty close because they are the volume. So, Brittany, how are you?
Good.
What's happening?
Good. No, just had some great food. Thank you so much, Clinton, your family's restaurant. Absolutely phenomenal. We're going to get you to talk about it a little bit more, but obviously we're all connected here tonight just to talk about a number of different things, actually. So, AI, technology.
Yes. You know, when you told me to be careful about this type of events, you were right. It took me a fair bit to get these people together. But here we are. We have two industries, you know, the hospitality known as like a laggard and typically like the last ones to embrace new technologies such as AI, and some of you also working the latest in AI. So I'm so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Leo just said, basically when he brought this topic to me originally, I said to him, don't know if that's the right one to be leading with. And when I've been looking around, it's kind of been like that punch buggy yellow thing from when we were a child. As soon as you start thinking about a yellow car, all of a sudden you see a yellow car everywhere. And ever since we had that first conversation, basically I've been seeing all these different types of innovations, whether it be in typical applications of tourism and hospitality, adopting AI and tech, or in not so typical applications. And we're going to hear from one in particular today that I think is quite remarkable and a pretty good story. So first off, we want to say thank you, obviously, to all of our panelists and guests here today. And a massive thank you to Clinton and his family for providing the food. Clinton, do you want to come up and tell us a little about the restaurant, about the food, and where you're situated? That'd be great.
Hey everyone, I really appreciate you guys all kind of rushing to have my food there for my family's restaurant, and I really hope you guys enjoy it as well. So our restaurant is called by Thai Restaurant. It's based in Castle Frag, which is around about 10 minutes from Chatswood. We also have another restaurant, which is under a different name, but that's the same food, called Thai 9, which is in Boston. So that's a shout out to my great restaurant.
Well deserved. The food is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
And so with that, we'll hand you over to Jeffrey Williams from Barcats. Now, you have to, Jeffrey, you might have to fact check me, but I think you've handled over 50,000 job applications. I think I got that wrong.
Lots more I can talk me through.
Okay, sounds good. Without further ado, let's get Jeffrey on board. So, thank you so much.
We'll have a sheet of information in front of you. Basically, on the back of that, there is something called a Slido. That's a way for you to submit questions. If you're too shy to put your hand up, if you want to put your hand up, please feel free throughout. But we'll also be keeping an eye out for anyone online. So if you want to submit some questions there, we'll get them answered for you. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thanks, Brittany. Thanks, Leo. And I really am sorry for all the guys online because the food is sensational, Clinton. So thank you. Certainly my head of marketing has devoured most of the chicken sartés and peanut sauce. So firstly, my name's Jeff Williams, and I love hospitality. So I started off as a 14-and-a-half-year-old working at McDonald's, like lots of people did. Progressed on to Sizzler, then moved into restaurant management, pubs, then moved to the UK, and hospitality really has been in my blood since a young age. I then went on to spend 20-odd years in corporate life and decided that after 20-odd years that I've had enough for that. I really wanted to do something good and do something for the community, and I wanted to go back to my roots of hospitality. And I came up with sort of 6 or 7 different ideas, and Barcats was at the top of that list 7 or 8 years ago now. It was really around an idea of how do I connect staff looking for work with venues looking for staff. But I wanted to then bring in education, training, communication, really bring the industry together. So think LinkedIn for hospitality. So 7 years on, a mate of mine said, with these startup things, you can't go small. Don't just trial it and test it down Military Road in Sydney. Go big, launch into Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane on day one, which we exactly did. We had 3 months worth of money in our pockets and thought, oh, we'll turn profit in 3 months, that'll be fine, we'll be all good. We find ourselves 7 years on now. We're now the largest hospitality community in the country, 195,000 staff on the platform, 60-odd thousand venues across Australia and New Zealand. We launched into the UK 2 years ago, and we're based here at Fishburners. So it's a nice little success of a young little business, and we still see ourselves very much as a cheeky little startup. Really going to help with a couple of slides just to sort of keep me on track as well. But our vision is ultimately about helping hospitality be better. We want staff to turn up better trained, better prepared to work. We want venues to be able to find those staff faster, quicker, cheaper, and we want the overall experience that we all have when we go to hospitality to be enriched, so that we think that the industry is improving. We, like I said, 195,000 people, and they are active. So whether they are looking for a job or whether they are looking at information, how to download a little video on how to make a Johnny Walker and apple juice, to actually signing up to the next free training session that we're running in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane. It really is an array or a one-stop shop for hospitality. And whether it be with the biggest chef network in the country, with the biggest barista network in the country, we've got more managers and duty managers, those sorts of things on the platform. It really does cover everything from the glassy through to the general manager. Oops, I'm flicking my slide. Helping hospitality be better is the vision. If we flick to the next slide, it'll be brilliant. I thought when Leo approached me, he said, listen, you've got a real finger on the pulse, and I certainly do, around what is happening in the industry at the moment. And unfortunately, it is one of the toughest industries and toughest times that the industry has ever faced. We thought COVID was going to be the make or break of the industry. Actually, COVID was easy compared to what we're trying to navigate right at the moment. This is a really challenging environment, and we see that time and time again. Alcohol consumption is at a 50-year low. People are more healthier looking at the choices they make. But more importantly, inflation is steadying, so we're seeing that from an overall business point of view. But unemployment is increasing. So we're seeing unemployment figures today, I think 4.1%, gradually increasing. It's what the government wants to then be able to lower interest rates, but it's slow. But importantly, we've got youth unemployment at an all-time high, 9.45%. It's the largest job loss that we've experienced since 1993. Just in December, we lost 65,000 jobs out of the industry as a collective. When I look at hospitality jobs quarter on quarter, it's down 40%. 53% just at the discrete month of May. So May versus 2023, 53% less jobs being advertised. So that means that the industry is under real pressure. And why is that? So if I flip to the next slide, we've got a bit of a reverse donut situation happening. So during COVID, we called it the donut situation, where people moved out of the CBD into their suburbs, and they ate and drank and experienced life, still wanted to go and celebrate things, but in their suburbs. What we're seeing is that reverse thing happening, that the cities are starting to get busier, cruise ships are back in, tourism's back in, the city's busier, but actually anywhere that you're in the suburbs is a lot quieter. So anywhere you've got a mortgage, you're really thinking about how you spend your money. You're not going out as much. You're not spending that amount of money. You're back into spending money on public transport, travelling back in, different ways to spend, and certainly cost of living pressures are really biting. We're also seeing cost of living pressures feed through the whole chain. So Staffing costs are up 6%. Superannuation just went up another 0.5%. Natural food or food prices are up 7.4%. Your insurance is up between 20 to 30%. Your energy price is up 25%. Your rent is up. So all of these things are impacting your bottom line. Without that additional, well, where's the revenue coming through? So we see certainly venues in suburbs telling us that we're down 40% year on year in sales. It's bloody hard. These businesses that are running in the suburbs, they were already pretty much hand to mouth. Put another burden on them over the last 12 months, that becomes really quite hard to run a business. So businesses are really thinking differently about how they need to run. What we're also seeing is the amount of closures going through the roof. So 30 venues closing every week. 1,600 alone in the last 12 months. That's up 50% versus 2 years ago, up 90% versus a decade ago. So we're certainly seeing the hospitality industry under pressure. Now that feels all doom and gloom, but actually there's also some real opportunity in that space. Because through these challenges, you'll see the good operators really thrive. You'll see the guys that are spending time working on their businesses, not just in their businesses, really thrive. Because in any adversity, there is opportunities. If we flick to the next slide. We're also seeing staff anxiety go through the roof. So 35% are worried about job security. So one of the biggest costs, or the biggest cost in any business, is staff. Between 40 to 45% of your P&L is a staff cost. So staff having their wages deducted, or just the amount of hours that are open to them, has a real impact. So we've got lots of venues starting to think, oh, if I open up on a Sunday to Monday, let me just close and I'll run a shorter shift. And we saw that all the way through the UK last year, and it's the worst thing you could possibly do. Because what happens is I've still got 7 days worth of costs that my venue is experiencing, rent, insurance, and I've just now squeezed 7 days of training into 5 days or 4 days. It only takes one rainy day to stuff my whole week. It only takes one bad day to have a really bad week. One bad week leads to one bad month, and I'm really under pressure. So instead, you've got to try to work ways to be more efficient in the 7 days of operating. 32% of staff fear that they won't afford their current rental bills. 2/3 of staff are anxious about the coming months, with the highest levels in New South Wales and Queensland. All this means that actually we find already that 48% of our current database, 194,000, 48% of people on our database already have more than one job. 75% of our database are looking for more work. So that second job, that third job, casualisation is a real thing. And we're seeing that day to day. Whether you're a junior accountant earning 75,000 straight out of uni, still can't really pay the bills for rent, avo and toast. I'm going to find ways to top that up on a Sunday. So this casualisation piece is becoming a really prevalent thing for us. If we flick to the next slide. A couple of things you guys are probably experiencing just when you're out and about. 63% of bar people working behind a bar today have got less than 6 months experience. So when you are going out and spending your hard-earned cash, the level of service you're getting back is pretty poor. So the difference between good service and good standards and getting what you pay for is big. The gap is never more larger at the moment. So there's a real opportunity for us to think about how do we build better training into this, but also how does venues start thinking about the service that they provide. Flick to the last slide, or second last slide of this space. And 66% of applicants currently applying for jobs in hospitality don't have the skills required to actually do the job that they're applying for. Again, that just says that we've got a whole heap more work to do in this space. So the 2 or 3 big opportunities in this, doing a wonderful job. First job for us is we need to find better ways to train staff. So how do we do that? Whether it be virtual, whether it be online, whether it be face-to-face, how do we drive better training standards and easy snippets into staff members? Secondly, how do we find a technology solution around casualisation? How do we unlock the workforce that want to work more flexibly to venues that want to be able to employ those staff members in an easier way? If it rains tonight, the opera bar drops 30% in sales. If the sun's out this afternoon, the opera bar's up 30%. But I had to set my roster 10 days ago. That's not flexible. Whereas my biggest part of my P&L had to set and be in rock 10 days ago. So instead, if I can set that at 70% and have the last 30% flexible, maybe 1 or 2 days out, then ultimately that's a really good way of doing it. Now, in particular, when Johnny wants to turn up and work on Friday night tonight or Thursday night tonight, the challenge that Johnny has is he's worked tonight, but then I have to wait 14 days, maybe 21 days before I actually get paid. It's a ridiculous situation in an environment where we're in the 21st century and technology should be our friend. So I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the solutions we're finding in that space. Now, finally, the theme of today, and Leo told me to make it about AI, is next slide, AI and data. There has never been a better time to embrace the amount of information that we have in hospitality. And Leo's bang on. We are one of the industries that come late to the party, but we have a wealth of information, a wealth of data, and AI can certainly help us do that. We need to find a way to be more profitable in a very tight environment. So there isn't going to be subsidies and magic government bailouts anymore. We have to find a way for operators to work better and harder at squeezing more out of the pie. And data can help inform that, both from how much stock do I need, how do I scale up my business and scale down my business at appropriate times, on both inventory management and staffing, the two biggest costs I have within the business. And that's really then my plea, which is, it's then not just about the tech solution. AI is great, but it's actually only as good as the questions you want to ask AI. So as the business owners, what you've got to be prepared to do is step back and go, how do I answer the 2 or 3 really big pivotal questions of the data that I have? And then technology can help inform that. So you need to be really smart and be able to optimize that. And I think there is an opportunity for this really progressive providers in the industry to really maximize that opportunity. And I can talk a little bit about that later on. I thought I'd just then finally finish up on literally a couple of slides on just something we launched 3 weeks ago, which we're super excited about. So we just talked about casualization. We flick to the next slide. We launched a little product called Pace, which is basically our way to do end-to-end hiring. So not just a recruiter, not just a community, connecting staff and venues. We literally then do the whole onboarding, time management, compliance with Fair Work, make sure you get paid the right award wage at the right time, and then really importantly, Johnny that's turned up at the opera bar getting paid literally within 24 hours into a digital wallet owned by MasterCard to then be able to use anywhere and any time that they like. If we flick to the next slide, because I'm tight on time. But you can sort of see basically it's a beautiful app that we've developed at a staff level. We have a web app that's at a venue level, but it manages both your onboarding process, so your full onboarding, your profile, your scheduling of work, your roster. It also allows you to then capture all your training, your qualifications. Where do you want to work? I'm in Melbourne for the weekend. I want to pick up 2 shifts in Melbourne whilst I'm down there. I want to be able to be truly that locum export talent. And I want to work around my schedule. So just like an Uber driver, I want to be able to switch on and switch off. This is your ability to, in your palm, to be able to do exactly that. What are all the jobs available for me tonight? I want to schedule in, schedule out. But importantly, I want to make sure I get not ripped off. I want to make sure I get the right award wage. I've got workers' compensation, I'm getting insurance, I'm getting superannuation, I'm getting all of those things in place as well. Because the time of, I used to just get slung a couple $100 at the end of the night, and that's done. Reputations, all of those sorts of things are done. So it's really important that we bring this to life. Flick to the next slide for me. From an employer experience, they literally can, off a bar tonight, can post the job. They get linked to 200 people that have already pre-selected as being the type of criteria, the type of people. There's no one that works in the background that's constantly changing. It says, this person's now available for work right now. They accept the job. They can turn up, they scan in, they scan out. That gets accredited by their venue manager or supervisor. That directly goes to generating a timesheet, then into a payslip straight into your bank account or into your digital wallet. Flick to the next slide. I should say, we're the only recruitment or labour hire business that's directly linked to Fair Work. So we have a direct link backwards and forwards to ensure that award wage and making sure that compliance is really key. And that is a real differentiator for us. So hospo staff, they want more shifts, they want more work, but I want to get paid quickly. None of this waiting 3 weeks because the bookkeeper takes, I only do it on a third Thursday of every month. And then venues, how do I unlock my 45% of my P&L to be more flexible? How do I get more money out of that? Ultimately, this is your way. How do I ensure that I become more flexible and using data and the community that we have, as well as ensuring that I'm compliant and therefore maximising my opportunity? The best way that I can bring that to life is Anzac Day, the Stain Hotel in Manly. Biggest day that they've had for probably 3 months. 30 deep. They only had 3 bartenders on, taking 25 minutes to serve drinks. If they had 7 bartenders on, it would have been their one day to make their week, their month, and that makes a whole year tick along. And I don't have that many big days like that, so I need to be able to maximise the opportunity that I've got the right food, the right drink, the right staff at the right time to maximise that opportunity. So whether that be Father's Day coming up, whether that be the footy finals, whether that be State of Origin last night, whether that be Spring Carnival, the number one profitable day in the hospitality industry, Melbourne Cup Day. So if I don't have the right staffing for that day, I've screwed my month. So that's what this does for you. Flick to the last slide. I think there's a bit of an idea here. Flick to this one last little build. The casualisation industry, just for hospitality, is worth $11 billion annually. So we just want a little pie of that, and that'd be pretty good. And then we can grow in fish burners. Leo, thanks for the time. Hopefully it gives you a bit of insight into hospitality, and thanks for the guys online.
Of the Australian population in your workforce, so that's amazing. Now the panel is going to have a really tough one because that's a big challenge that's being thrown at us, okay? And I'm sure you guys are probably thinking of some solutions in the audience as well. Before we jump to the panel, actually, really, I thought, why don't we get Clinton back out and just to share, because Jeffrey's given us a big picture of what the situation is in the industry, but you mentioned your parents are kind of also experiencing that firsthand. So Clinton, do you mind just sharing with us a little bit more, what is the top 2 challenges that they face?
So just to give a little bit of background. So yeah, I was born and raised in the hospitality industry. I worked at Jeff as well since 14 at McDonald's. What was it? Is that better? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So I was sleeping back at the restaurant since I was born. Up to all sorts of pots and pans. I sleep very well at night. Yeah. So the current situation with my parents in their restaurant, they said the number one thing that was probably hardest for them right now is the ability to have staff on hand when they need it. Exactly like what Jeff said. When you don't have staff, you're going to see the roster, especially the week ahead as well, but you miss plans on the day. There's not really much to do, and that's a very, very big problem. And I think one of the other biggest problems that my parents are currently facing right now is actually being a restaurant in the suburbs means it's actually really, really hard to get exposure when your regulars are no longer there anymore. But so 20 years ago in Costco, I would say we managed to develop a really, really good warm community that we're always on. We managed to develop a lot of regulars along the way. But now one of those, regulars have gotten older, some passed away, and the community is changing. It's really hard for, a staple restaurant at that community to actually, continue thriving, basically. So social media awareness is probably the other big problem that management faces.
And being immersed in technology yourself, have you seen that your parents have adopted any forms of technology to do so? Are you encouraging them to do so, or are you just looking for opportunities in the market potentially to supplement some of this planning that you mentioned?
I think what's a bit hard is that a lot of the times restaurant owners aren't necessarily up to date with the latest technology. And that's, I think, the same case with a lot of restaurant owners that my parents know as well. And especially because their English is not as good as maybe England as well. It's even harder. So I wouldn't say that, but I think the most that we've tried to in tune with latest technology, like Uber Eats and Mindlo, that's probably as far as my parents have gone.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for listening.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. No, that's firsthand. So you tried the food; it's amazing, but they're still having their challenges. Okay, so I think we do have a question on Slido. Thank you for submitting that. I don't know if you guys actually want to put in more questions. So these are going to be thrown at the panel. So the panel, I hope, is ready. Sure. Okay, so there's actually, oh yeah, this is actually for Jeffrey, this question. So Jeff, can employers, price surge the hourly rate based on demand, up or down, obviously holding the minimum wage, i.e. pay more if they need urgent help?
Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly how we've built the function. So you start at the award wage, then you can, prime time, New Year's Eve, you choose that you want to then increase it, gives you a simple calculation, sets you exactly the amount, plus superannuation, plus workers' comp, and it gives you a very clear calculation on every job.
Great, makes sense. Supply and demand, I guess. Awesome. Now we're gonna move on to the panel, and I gotta say, so we have someone from Silicon Valley who stayed up until, let me just check, I think it's like 1 a.m. there. 12, yeah, basically. So, Anurupa, thank you so much. If you're watching this, I really appreciate that you're doing this for us. So, yes, we're gonna move on to the panel.
I think first, Leo,
Sure.
you haven't given an introduction of yourself. Why don't you give an introduction of yourself as to why you are here, what led you to organise this, and go from there.
Okay, well, I will. You'll hear more about my own startup actually later because I'm pitching tonight. But I guess a bit of an intro about myself. I do have a tattoo on my foot that says AI. So I'm obsessed. I love that technology. It's literally what I think about all the time. So these sort of things come natural to me. And this is really special to me because it was a challenge. So the last 2 weekends, actually, I just went to every hotel at night and just left like a little flyer in the reception. I spoke to them and I said, hey, come out, come have a chat. And I feel that interestingly don't know or have not heard of AI. Some are actually starting to see that on the reception, POS, property management system. So yeah, that's a bit about me, but we'll hear more later. But I don't want to keep Anurupa up. She needs to go to bed at some point. But thank you for that.
No worries.
Okay, I think she's up. All right, guys, let's get the panel up. And so just quickly, we wanted to have the first half of the event as a problem. Okay, we talk about the problem. Now we are gonna start looking for solutions. And if you guys in the audience have any idea solutions, we'll put in the slide on, we'll talk about it. Cool. All right. Well, would you like to help me introduce the panel?
Sure. Firstly, I'll introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Brinley. I'm a startup specialist lawyer. Been working in the startup community for a number of years now. Basically come from a background of corporate law. I've been working in corporate transactions, so raising capital, and venture debt. But I've since moved sort of into the IP commercialization. So I work a lot with universities, with a lot of deep tech companies, frontier tech companies, into spinning out opportunities that they might have into viable businesses and what that might look like. So today was really interesting for me because I obviously can see a lot of the challenges in the market, being quite aware and on different types of touch points with different types of clients. But I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about this sector, particularly because I was quite skeptic as to whether it actually does have much of an interaction, but as we're hearing today, absolutely does.
Yeah.
So let's get our panelists up. First of all, we have... Who will we introduce first? Ethan, go up first. All right, so Ethan is an investor. He's the manager of the Future Leadership Lab at UNSW, and he specialises in technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship skills. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role at UNSW?
Okay, so from the end, current role, I manage TIE grant. It's a technology, innovation, entrepreneurship grant by the federal government, by the New South Wales government, given to universities to encourage skills in specifically sustainability.
Wow.
So we have a bunch of activities from courses to partnerships and so on to basically train the future generation of students in leadership and sustainability. But my background more relevant to this, so 25 years and more even in technology, from Intel Capital in Silicon Valley to the last 15 years in Australia, really building this ecosystem. And we're sitting for about 4 years on the federal government AI committee, so setting up some standards and policies, as well as grants to different AI centers and companies to scale up people in AI.
Wow, so you're one of the first people sort of working with the government in AI, I suppose.
In the initial group that set up some policies in Australia back from 2015.
Remarkable. And former member of this building as well.
For about 7 years, Stone and Shop, and actually, yes, before this building. Yeah, actually, Fish Burner. I've been one of the first customer of Fish Burner when they opened up in Ultium, in the original building. So yes.
Definitely immersed in the ecosystem. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next, we have Ross. Thank you, welcome to Ross. Ross is a renowned futurist. Let's see if I can grab that from you.
Sure.
Board advisor, global keynote speaker, best-selling author. You're the founder of AHT Group, Informivity, is that how I say it? And Bondi Innovation. Tell us a little bit about you and about your current experiences.
Sure. Well, I'm a futurist and entrepreneur. The current focus, so a lot, always too many things, I do too much, but the real core theme is humans plus AI. How can humans and AI together do more than they could do individually? And so a lot of it's around human cognition and using these tools to be able to do them as well. So I run a series of courses, and Informivity's its major product is a AI thinking workflow tool. And as I mentioned, Bondi Innovation. So if any of you are eastern suburbs, check out Bondi Innovation, bondiinnovation.com.au. That's where we just try to catalyze good people, connections, and ventures in the East.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for all you do for the ecosystem. We're going to welcome back Jeffrey. We just had a short introduction of our hats, but I mean, obviously, given that this is your industry, and before we dive into it a little bit further, do you want to tell us about your experiences prior to Barcats?
Sure. I spent 12 years working for Diageo, which is a global big drinks business. 10 or 11 years in the UK, a couple of years in New York, looking after Europe and Africa for them from a commercial point of view. Then I went into the dark side and worked at British American Tobacco for 7 years as their commercial director. So I've done my sins. I've done the commercial sins. So it was good to truly. Leo said before, we've actually processed over 600,000 applications for work in this current business. That's 600,000 opportunities to create an opportunity for somebody, and that for me is lots better than selling it back at Winfield Blue. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for coming back. Finally, in person, we have Clinton. He is at the forefront of the ANZ largest new ecosystem player, so AI Builder community at Build Club. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about Build Club?
Yeah, sure thing.
Just hold the mic a bit closer.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I am the Build Club representative today, and I work there in Ops and Growth. If you guys haven't heard of Build Club before, we're essentially an AI builder community in Sydney. And while we're mainly based in Sydney, we're actually active in 6 cities all around the world. And recently, we actually onboarded our 1,000 AI engineers in the community. It's a very big achievement for us. If any of you are building anything cool in AI, just feel free to come have a chat with me today.
Love that. Thank you. Yeah, of course. And we've got Anu online. Thank you so much for staying up and joining us. We can't wait to hear all of your insights. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Anu, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey. Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be part of this panel. And I'm Anurupa Sharma. I am the founder of SBC Ventures. SBC Venture is a venture co-foundership studio based out of Silicon Valley, California. We mostly work with AI startups. As a part of our studio, we help startups like end-to-end, starting from product development to go-to-market strategies, to helping them with business dev, and we also help them in raising funds. We, apart from this, we also co-found with startups depending on how innovative the idea is and depending on if it is aligned with our company's vision. So prior to this, I was part of Intel Disruptor, which is an Intel accelerator program along with Intel Capital. I have seen Itan is from ex-Intel employee. So I was with Intel for a very long time, and as a part of Intel, I worked with a lot of startups. Most of them had billion-dollar exits, and I was also part with like University of Berkeley AI Innovation. So I had a long journey working with startups, mostly in AI and deep tech companies, and that is what led me to start with SBC Ventures. So I'm very passionate about helping startups to grow from 0 to 1. We are in an exciting time right now, even though I have heard about Barcat's lot of challenges which you have spoken here, but there's a very exciting time with generative AI and AI tools and technologies. A lot of those problems can be solved. And I'm happy to be in the panel.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, we've got a really diverse group of people here. So I'm sure there's going to be a number of different questions and perspectives that are going to come up throughout. I do have a couple of specific questions for each of you, but if you want to add to each other or you feel like you have a point to make, feel free to just grab the microphone and make it. Each of you have so much to contribute, and I'd love to hear from all of you. Originally, I had this question for Kanat, who was unable to join us today, so I'm actually going to give this one to Clinton, because I think you would be able to provide me with some insight anyway.
Try my best.
So, language learning models. They're a hot topic at the moment, and I'd love to hear from you, just I suppose quite broadly, around how you think that they've impacted the AI landscape, and then maybe some benefits or challenges you think that they might have in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That's actually a very good question for me, actually, because right now I'm working a bit more casually at this startup called Artificial Analysis. If you haven't heard about Artificial Analysis yet, we're basically we do independent benchmarking for LLMs, and we have recently got some shout outs by Andrew Ng, Andrew Parthy. So it's going really, really well, and it's only been 6 months as well. So in terms of how large language models will start to impact like us and how it's looking like in the future, I think there's definitely much more of an emphasis going towards much more efficient models going in now, because as we saw for the past couple of years, I think there's been a lot of models that have become much, much bigger, and now it's becoming more of a trend towards more efficient models, so that eventually they'll be, say, quantized small enough to be on devices. And I think that's kind of the word around the word around the street right now, and that's my rough kind of superficial perspective of what I think it's going to be like over the next couple of years.
That's really interesting. Ethan, do you have a take on that?
Not particularly, besides the fact that NVIDIA is making a lot of money out of chips that will be on the device, and so I think that's definitely the direction of have more compute done on the device rather than on the cloud.
Yeah, completely agree with you. Does anyone have anything negative to add about large language models?
Well, just taking a step back, I think one of the, just for everybody who is not so deep in the field, it's very important to make the distinction between what you can call traditional or analytic AI, which is basically machine learning and a whole array of techniques that come in the past, and the generative AI, which stems mainly from 2017, which is what most people are familiar with in their interactions. They're quite different in their use and their application. So the analytic AI uses discrete data sets and is very much domain bounded in what it can do, and is very, very good at making predictions or optimize around particular data sets, whereas generative AI is unbounded because these are essentially language models or essentially predicting how content is structured in ways which are useful, and that means it's a very different way in which there's a cognitive tools. So I think that's an important distinction. But the risk with large language models are legion, in the sense of they hallucinate, people trust them more than they should, there is biases inbuilt to them, there is essentially, these are things which are extraordinarily useful but do need a great deal of caution in how they're used into just looking at a simple business context.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for bringing that up. Obviously, the caution and alarm bells going off in my head as a lawyer is one of the things that I have often when people start using these tools, things that confidentiality and all sorts of different things that can play into it. But it's very, very interesting. I suppose talking more about the sector as a whole, Jeff, you've given us a great background about this, but considering you're running an incredibly successful tech company in this particular sector, we'd love to hear about other ways that you integrate AI, aside from your work and what your product does, into the way that your team operates and the way that you actually operate on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that's been probably the biggest change just in the last 12 months, and that's our marketing team primarily that are certainly from the efficiency that AI has brought to them around creativity, whether it be the ability to be better targeted, better creative, cheaper, more efficient, all of those sorts of things. And then certainly when it comes to actually just build, so build time to come up with an FAQ or terms and conditions or all of that stuff that takes businesses when you're starting out weeks and months and should I need to have a whole heap of people involved in this. Actually, the ability to generate that now is in seconds, and your ability to make it very, very tailored to what your industry is or your specific requirements are is significant. Albeit, it does come with that little bit of risk of you do still need to ensure that you've dotted I's across the T's, because what you do get looks great, but you scratch the surface a little, and there may well be some fragility in it. So there's no doubt it sped us up, we're more efficient, but there are still... I keep putting my warning alarm, old bloke view on this, which is AI is amazing, but it still starts with a human asking the right question, and making sure you're interpreting what you're getting back out of it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I definitely agree with you there, and I think that humans, we naturally iterate better than we start projects. So just utilising things like that on a daily basis definitely made me more efficient. I'm sure it has to all of you as well. Anu, considering you work with businesses, as you mentioned, that go from day zero or so 0 to 1, do you see that there is a lot of adoption of AI tools and technologies in amongst these types of businesses? What do you see trends with the people that you're working with at the moment?
Absolutely. So AI, like mostly the companies which I work with and I have worked with in Silicon Valley or beyond, AI has been getting adopted everywhere. Most of those, there is a real use cases of AI, and many of the businesses are using AI because they need investors' money, because investors are mostly investing where there is an AI involved in their in the stack. So AI, as mostly generative AI, has a huge impact in businesses, like where there is interaction between customers and business. So I definitely see a lot of adoption. In the hospitality industry right now, because our conversation here in the hospitality side, I feel that AI can be used for, say, conversing without being hindered by languages, accent, and getting a delightful customer experience will become the new normal that customers will expect of every businesses. So this is especially, I feel, true and also existential for the hospitality industry. And we are heading towards an agenic future. So I feel that, AI would be adopted, mostly the agenic side of it, for this kind of industry sooner or later.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there, that the trend is that a lot of investors are looking for AI-enabled businesses. And Ethan, you might be able to speak to this particular point as well. I know that obviously investors do look at some of these things, but I think I'm more curious about what the viability of an AI product might actually look like when it comes to conversations with investors, and probably more specifically how that might play out in traditional industries or industries that are a little bit more archaic, like tourism or hospitality.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, just to mention that I did a lot of work in IoT back the last 8 years, and IoT Internet of Things, where where it's putting sensors and getting information from physical spaces, but there's the data analytics part of it. And data analytics and then different models to analyze it. And then AI became very popular. And so we need to be careful of what AI really is, because there's a lot of things which is not an AI. And of course, every startup now is an AI startup. And everyone starts to put AI in it, but it's not necessarily AI. But that's fine. Not everything has to be AI. And also we need to distinguish between generative AI and all the rest of AI, because what I actually see the most opportunities is not in generative AI for the hospitality industry. So if you look at the hospitality industry, there are really maybe 4 different elements. There is how can we increase revenues, how we can save costs, how we can have better customer experience, and maybe how we can be more sustainable, because sustainability is important now. And most of those things are actually not generative AI. Generative AI is where you interact with the customer. So in a hotel situation, having a really smart AI assistant in the room, and that customers can talk to and operate and from check in to check out and so on. That's very helpful. But the real opportunities are really in the operational part. Whether it's how can we save cost on better rosters, how we can have dynamic pricing to increase our revenues, how can we have better preventive maintenance of our equipment, and all those sorts of things which are good in other industries also can have a huge impact in the hospitality industry. And I think this is where most of the saving and our cost and revenue growth can come from.
So basically you're saying that investors see through calling business an AI business, and they really want to understand the impact that the technology is having on the problem or the customers or whatever that might be. Is that right?
Yeah, that's from the investor perspective. But I think here we are to talk about how we can help the hospitality industry and what kind of solution AI can actually bring to hospitality. And hospitality, Jeff had a great presentation, and obviously, if I'm not mistaken, we will really focus on restaurants, but hotels and other operators that are part of that big industry.
Absolutely. I think there's go for it.
Yeah, I think you made some great points there, like really about how AI could really help on the operational side of things from a business point of view. In my experience, seeing my parents work, a lot of their problems came from working to be able to even do work in the first place, being able to have to sort of let's say maintenance, having to sort out all the rosters and all the management, all of that time, all that cost could almost, I think could be, minimized a lot by using AI to make their life more efficient, to just make sure that the customer have the best experience they can in our restaurant.
It should absolutely be a turnkey. It should be one thing leads to the whole thing, and it should be then just naturally informing of. It should be colouring by numbers. It should be the easiest thing in the world to be able to run a business in that space, because we've got the data, and we should then be able to marry that to what it's like to run a business in Castle Craig versus Chatswood versus Balmain, and that ability to then run that versus Melbourne versus and what's really interesting about that is, do I expect your mum and dad to have that? No. But do I expect, therefore, your number one supplier, or your manufacturer who's actually supplying you, to be able to deliver that as their service? 100%. So whether that be the bread supplier, they should be able to give you the model showing you the 12,000 stores that they're actually, or restaurants or bars that they're supplying, and therefore giving you the information to then be able to make a discrete decision on. So we're not looking for 60,000 venues having 60,000 different AI models out there. We've got 5 or 6 that are then being dispersed and then letting the entrepreneurs, the business owners, being the business owners.
That data is so valuable. I mean, it's been around for such a long period of time. The hospitality and the tourism sectors have been well ingrained in society for a very long period of time. And as we've said, looking at that data, interpreting that data and providing that to people that might not necessarily be able to take that as a translation would be so valuable. And I'm sure that there's opportunities out there for each different type of business to do that. By the way, Anu, if you wanted to jump in at any point, feel free.
I would like to Yeah, I'd like to add something which Itan and others has mentioned. The AI in general, if you see, it is nothing but a tool. It is at our disposal for doing things better. Like AI is right now going to be, like how software used to be back in time. Like all the companies, more or less, will have AI like in the near future. And as you have mentioned, like all these check-in, check-outs, updates, all of those technologies are already once there present, like in all those industries. So there is a technology that understands you, what you are seeking, and the ability to associate a personal device like a mobile phone as an accessory, right? So, well, underneath there is a technology to enable a holistic loyalty profile for each customer. So that is what we already have. But all of these technology touchpoints can now benefit immensely from generative AI. And the way I feel that can benefit more is how, like how you are personalizing things. For say, imagine every customer receiving a personalized message and service which takes into account all of the customer's previous requests and preferences, right? And I think Jeff has mentioned that in the restaurant industry, restaurant would know beforehand what are your food preferences, what are the allergies you have. So those kind of, like personalization is where a small AI, generative AI tool can help you with.
That's a great point. I mean, I'd love to be able to turn up to a restaurant and they know what food allergies I might have or what my water preference is or those sorts of things. Imagine that level of personalization would be absolutely phenomenal rather than that being the first conversation that I'm having when I'm sitting down.
Yeah, hyper-personalization and the associated service is the North Star of all of us are seeking. So that is the North Star, right? We always want everything to be so much personalized. But Gen AI is something which can, like make it visible.
I love that. Did you have something to add, Jeff?
I was only just going to add that from the hospital people in the room, the thing that we need to be better at is being demanding of our big suppliers. Because ultimately, it's a Lion Nathan or it's a Diageo or it's a Nestle, they have the scale to actually be able to access the things we're talking about. So before I make a choice on the supplier I use, that's probably one of the first things I'm going to ask is what's the actual value add that you're going to bring me as my restaurant, my bar, my hotel. And I want specifically not just the best commercial deal, but I also want the best insights or data and that mechanism in place.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And I think something that Clinton mentioned earlier might limit that a little bit, but it's definitely something to consider is, I suppose, the access to understanding information and even just understanding from like a linguistic level, like if you're English as a second language or anything like that, you might not necessarily understand that data, but that's a really good point is to start educating some of these providers, restaurant owners, small businesses and those sorts of things to look back to their provider and say to them, well, actually, although you might be giving me a good price, what else can you bring to the table? How else can you enrich the way that I work? And that data is specifically one of them. Go.
So there you go. So there's like one thing that I want to say that I think Jeff just said before about enabling really discrete decisions to like restaurant owners, for example. I think seeing my parents bombarded with hundreds and hundreds of decisions that they have like no expertise about when they just want to run a restaurant. They really want to just provide a good experience for the customers that come by, and being able to utilize AI to make sure that all the decisions that they want all in front of them, they understand from in especially in the way that they can interpret in their own language as well, I think it's very, very useful. And at the end of the day, like when I see my parents work, I see their smiling face when they walk around the restaurant and talk to customers, I realize what they really, really want to do is to provide the best experience they can for the customers that we have.
Just sort of rounding on, building a little bit of the conversation. But I mean, what it brings us to is, well, how do we actually make this happen?
Yeah.
And so a lot of the businesses are small businesses. So big businesses can sort themselves out in various degrees. So there are some solutions which companies can use already. You can, for example, set up your own chatbot using a Botsonic or ChatFuel, whatever. These are things where you don't need technical expertise, and you can say, all right, well, if you want to interact with my website, we can have a chat about. There's an array of those tools available. There are, I think, from this conversation, there's so many things we can say, yes, AI can do that, but those solutions aren't out there in the market. And where I think there are many, many opportunities for startups to be able to, I think part of it is this more comprehensive view, as suggested, of this is the array of decisions which you need to make. This is the ways in which we can gather that data and do that. But for now, simply there are a whole set of, for example, inventory management. There's some things there where I think you said there's a lot of data. There is a lot of data, but I think we also need more. We're not actually capturing, for example, what are people's individual preferences. So that's a whole process. Say, well, okay, we can create value for customers. And I think that's one of the big frames around everything. Is how do you use data to create value, not in terms of being able to market better, but able to create value for your customers. That's relevant for the hospitality businesses, exactly as you were saying, for the suppliers to the hospitality businesses, where that should be the point of differentiation. If you are a supplier to hotels, to tourism, to other businesses, saying, we can aggregate the data and we can help you to make decisions effectively, or basically trust the machine because it will do this very effectively, taking that out of the picture, and that's just so many opportunities for value creation, and this really just need the businesses to step up.
It's a really great point. It actually kind of leads to my next question, which looks at the other side of that coin for yourself, Ross, is thinking about how some of the tools that we have currently in the market might be able to assist in further developing the human capital, the human side of things, and what your experience with that has been, and what you sort of see the trends looking like in the near future.
Well, it's a big question, and I'll give my answer pretty brief, in the sense that we are moving to a humans plus AI world. Almost all work, whether you're a plumber or whether you're an astronaut or a CEO, whatever, we will be using AI in various guises to assist what we do. So, of course, we need the better tools, which can be our better system, but we do need to develop those skills. It's going back to the training piece in a way. It's like, or we want to be more efficient, we want to be more effective. So I think there is a whole layer of just people need to do it for themselves, as in they'll understand what are the models, how can we do them, what are the best tools which we have, to create the educational systems for that. But all organizations need to be designed for a humans plus AI world where we are bringing out the best of the individual people, being able to give them the skills or the opportunities to develop those skills, and supporting them with the right tools. So, I could give you I could go talk for forever on this topic, but I think that's the essence of it. We just have to recognize this is already, and we're becoming a human plus AI world. We need to develop those skills, and we need to be creating AI that is not replacing people, but augmenting their capabilities to do what they do best. Thinking, imagining, connecting, drawing out positive emotions, all the wonderful things that we do in tourism and hospitality.
Absolutely, and that speaks to what Clinton was saying, that his parents just want to go out there and have conversations and meet the people and meet their locals and really enjoy the experiences that they get to have on a person-to-person connection basis. Anu, do you have anything to add to that point?
Yeah, I think, there are a lot of tools and predictive tools and technologies can be used as mentioned, like in the inventory management. Inventory management is definitely can benefit greatly from AI-powered tools, based on trends, travel trends, with seasonal and historical insights. Hotels and restaurants would accurately forecast demand for services, and that will help manage inventory better, especially for perishable and high acquisition cost items. I do not have as such experience in restaurant industry, but this is what comes top of my mind, that can benefit immensely. And that same goes for promotions, giving the right and incentives at the right time can have a big impact on sales. In a more personal and micro level, knowing about eating and consumption habits of the visitors staying at the hotel or resort can help the manager allocate what resources is better fit on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
yeah, similarly, as you mentioned, for workforce management as also can also benefit by those kind of tools and predictive tools where you can assign the resources at the right time. For say during Thanksgiving hours when it is a rush time, you can based on the demand and demand patterns, you can assign resources there. We can also track employee productivity and train the employees accordingly. So those tools will really help in predicting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I just add also, just thinking about why is hospitality lagging a little bit behind in this area? It's not because of lack of the solution or entrepreneurs wanting to create the opportunity. It's really hard to get access to businesses. It's a really fragmented industry. It's 61,000 or 65,000 individual venues, ranging from the Accor group to the Pullman, big hotels to islands to stadiums down to Shirley's little coffee bar. So as an entrepreneur, the hardest challenge is actually getting my bloody good idea out there. And that's why, I've probably seen over the last 7 years some amazing ideas, but businesses that are really struggling to execute. And that's why I try to give you the coaching of start with the big 3 or 4 players to try to get that solution out there rather than trying to get your really good idea into hospitality, because it's really hard to sell into Clinton's mum and dad to then the pizza shop next door to then the big hotel that's 2 doors down to the group to then and so on. So there is just a cautionary tale out there for budding entrepreneurs in the room or online of it's not just necessarily about the idea, the execution is actually the hardest part to get right.
I just want to support your point. I think it's a great point again that tackle the suppliers, the big companies, the suppliers that supply all the SMEs. And just to give you an analogy for that, like in the agricultural space, you have farms all over the place. And really the innovation comes from the John Deere and those big suppliers that really bring those value-added services to all the farmers around the country. It's very hard to get to a farmer and convince them to take some time off and learn new technology. So I think this is really a key, what you point out, Jeff, to work from the top down and have them really have that differentiation by providing services, data prediction. It's really come down to 2 main things: is prediction for decision making, and it's the automation. So it's more things we can automate, we're going to be more successful in that business.
Yeah, thank you. I suppose one last point of that kind of answered a question that I had. I was curious about understanding whether a negative impact of introducing AI into such of these businesses would, I suppose, end up in cannibalization. But it sounds as though really you've got to tackle the larger players, and then that sort of trickles down to the small players in the market. How does that look in practice? Does it mean that businesses are having, say, a 2-tiered model for like an enterprise solution and then a small business solution? In practice, how would you think that would play out?
I think it firstly comes down to Clinton's mum and dad, and he sort of, and it says it beautifully. And I will get it. I live out in North Shore. I'll get across to Castle Craig shortly, because it does come down to the personality that's running that business is absolutely the differentiator, and that's what every single business is looking for: is what's the smiling experience that I have. Whether it be a 5-star hotel, you remember the person that served, greeted, the personal touch, and the data is one part of it, and how the enterprise works versus down to the little small venue, it still comes down to that human interaction of actually that final execution.
So, I think a very good point there about the personality of the business owner there. And I think part of my restaurant experience that what makes the regulars and people who come to your restaurant is oftentimes is that constant warmth that you receive. Sometimes it's hard to be constantly evolving over time to actually take advantage of these new technologies, because when customers come back, they expect that same warmth. But when they see more and more technology being built, let's say for the QR code, for example, I think that's a very isolating technology, but it's very, very efficient for us, especially for the younger people. But I would say for the older customers, if we had done that like the moment it came out, we would have lost a lot of customers. So, and that's a very, very important thing to think about. Is like as much as we can, I guess, rely and take advantage of AI, but how can we also embed humans in it so that we can maintain the same warmth we had in the day?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we've really only touched on surface level of how deep these issues can go, and like we haven't even really talked about the entire travel sector that's really been optimized by this industry. I think is probably the most efficient part of the sector that has really adopted technology and AI and integration and data and those sorts of things. Dynamic pricing is one of them. Ethan mentioned that before, and we're seeing a lot of platforms use that. But thank you all for giving your insights. It's been absolutely fabulous. Is there any additional points that you wanted to make before we wrap to questions? Happy for anything?
Well, can we give this amazing panel a round of applause? Because trust me, the best thing about this event that you're gonna get is the opportunity to ask these guys questions. So it's like, I don't know, do your research, check their LinkedIn profile. These guys are serious, amazing experts. So this is your opportunity to ask questions, and there's no dumb questions, like nothing. Don't be afraid of asking. So yes, if we can now move on to some questions for the panel, please.
I'm just so AI is also about the people. So I just want to know what your perspective is on Sydney's access to talent. So we need the entrepreneur, we need the programmer, we need the salesperson, and we need the venture capitalist to all make it happen. What's your environment?
That's a really good question. Who wants to go?
I'll just quickly say Sydney is a global player. We don't have the scale or breadth of some other cities around the world, but I think we are, and so Clinton can speak a lot more to this in terms of what's happening in and actually one of the things Build Club does, I think, is if you've got a project, you can give it, and people in the Build Club community will basically compete to be able to provide the best offer on that. So there's lots of these kinds of resources. There's a lot of talent here. Sometimes you can tap international talent, but I think we're in a pretty good position. Anyone else want to?
Yeah. So like you said, this Build Club is definitely trying to develop a community like that in Sydney. I think a very big problem Australia has is a lot of brain drain. When you have the qualifications, you don't want to see it because you can't get enough rewards that you would get from overseas like Sanfranc, for example. And I think part of what the Build Club is trying to do is to make the offer that Australia is worth staying. And we try and run our co-working sessions every Sunday so that anyone that's building something cool in AI, for example, can come by and see all the other people that are also building AI as well. Since being a founder is already like so lonely, that AI environment in Australia is also not strong either. Having that community that we have on Sundays and also for all the other events we have is what we're really trying to do at Build Club.
I also have a point to add to that, because I feel like I work with founders all day, every day. I work with all different sides of the coin, really. I work with investors, with governments, with grant experts, and all these sorts of things. And I think now more than ever, people are really starting to just explore staying in Australia. And we are becoming even more connected than we previously were. And I found definitely a lot more that the international players in the market aren't necessarily demanding of the founders as they previously were to move to the US, move to the UK, or wherever they might have been based. They're happy to support them in the Australian ecosystem, and they can really understand that testing in a market like Australia or even like New Zealand, being so close, and having that smaller use case could really apply to different applications across the world, and it could apply in a particular state in the US, and they might draw similarities to that. So we're definitely seeing a lot more of that now than, I suppose, the last 10 years, but I'm obviously excited to see more of that grow. I think we still do a lot of offshoring work when it comes to cost. Obviously, minimum wage and things like that in Australia are quite high, and that's sometimes where it's a negative impact, I suppose, to the Australian talent. There are people out there with those skills, but maybe they want to be paid a little bit higher. Maybe the founders can't necessarily afford that. So I think it will be a balancing act over the coming years as to what that might look like.
Let me give you a short answer. Monday to Friday, fish burner, Sunday to Build Club. Okay, who wants to go next? Really, this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions to some serious experts. So, okay, here we go.
Yeah, the question of the comment on QR codes is a great one, because I think that's technology that's actually leading to it's a lot of technology about cost saving. And I'm just interested from the panel if anyone's got an example of a Sydney hospitality venue that's actually using technology to actually, enhance the customer experience or to do something really innovative and not just cost cutting.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one, and I would love to say there's 12. We're just at the starting point, and I would say QR code is not a great example for, because it was a great solution. They hadn't quite worked out what the problem they were trying to solve for was, and they sold it on the back of, you can make your staff super efficient. Then it worked out, well, you still have to have a staff member go and deliver it to the table, so I haven't got rid of my waitress. And what I've then done is actually simplified a menu that actually was all about choice and 6 different Chardonnays and an upsell opportunity to now there's no upsell opportunity, and it's really a depersonalised opportunity, and I've taken all of that love and feel that I had for this restaurant out of it, and I haven't actually sold you an extra cappuccino. So from what I saw was, it was something that was heavily sold, but it didn't necessarily work that well. It certainly works well when I'm an opera bar and I'm 300 metres away and I need to tap and go my next round. Great. But if I'm a small venue and most of my hospitality opportunities are small venues, it's not a great solution.
So I don't have a specific restaurant to point out or venue, but I do want to mention there's a company upstairs in Stone Chalk called Rattler AI, and their innovation is that, and it's a patented innovation, which is amazing. They're actually rolling out an end-to-end software stack for restaurants. So from the booking to the kitchen management, to the roster, to what have you. But their innovation, number one, is to have a dynamic floor table seating to completely optimize the way every shift of customer come and you rearrange the table. On top of that, they will then provide a dynamic pricing. So the idea that if you have the last table next to the window on Christmas or New Year's Eve, customer will pay extra for that, and so on and so forth. So the idea that we now used to sit on a plane and the person next to you paid a very different price than you did. They're not used to it in restaurant, but that's coming with a smart technology that they're able to optimize the time of the day, the shift, how many reservations are, and so on.
What about in San Francisco? Anu, could you share if you see any sort of like crazy restaurants doing some crazy stuff with robots or something?
Hi, Leo. Yeah, so in San Francisco, it's almost everywhere where there are not everywhere, but many restaurants, they have this test robots where delivering foods and taking up the dishes and stuff. And mostly in malls and all, you will see robots cleaning and taking up the trash and the crazy thing. There are many innovative crazy things going on. Now Waymo, how do I Waymo is everywhere. So yeah, this is amazing. I would so one of the questions someone asked how to give the talents there. So I would say to answer that, an interesting thing happened. Like last week, I met the senator and also my college, university's Texas A&M's chancellor. They came to Silicon Valley. And we had a meeting. I was invited there along with a few other alumni to meet with the chancellor and the senator and Plug and Play CEO because they wanted to see how they can create a Silicon Valley in Texas, like mostly in College Station. And it's a small town and can have the talent intact there. So one of the things which I came into picture is it's not about going to Silicon Valley or not about having a environment for the startup. So one most important thing is creating an ecosystem there in the universities, a small ecosystem where students or people around can have their innovation in that and get the support to do innovations. Like, for example, in Silicon Valley, there are around 100, 200 events happening in a day, all startup events. People are extremely energetic and the whole environment is towards that. So I think those small things really help in giving motivation and creating more and more jobs and companies.
Just one thing, I was when I'm in San Francisco, I often stay at the Sonder, which is just next to Union Square, which is entirely automated. So it's an app. You use an app to get in the front door. You get an app for your luggage storage. You get an app to get in and out of your room. You get an app for all things. And so, yes, you're taking away the personal touch. But then again, often in the US, and the last time I was in New York, I was over an hour waiting to check in. So yes, I spoke to a human, but I was waiting an hour to do it. So, these are choices. Yes, sometimes we want human interaction. Sometimes we do want to actually quickly go through. And that's, where these technologies are well in place to be able to provide really seamless, efficient things for the customer, and that's what they want.
Absolutely. I also think as well, to your point earlier, Anu, about hyper-personalization. Like, imagine walking into a restaurant and having all of these capabilities, being felt like you're treated like a regular, even though that might be your first time somewhere. Building a profile about how you like to attend restaurants and what that might look like is, very interesting.
Yeah, but as someone has mentioned, how do you make people adopt those technologies is the most important thing. I mean, that is why, having the human part of it is very necessary. It needs to be, seamlessly integrated so that you don't lose customers. Because I know my mom, she doesn't like the QR code. She, she doesn't want to go to a restaurant with her phone. She wants, to be more, personal and talking to people in the restaurant, not with phones. So how do you make people adopt to those technologies is very important. So there is a human part needs to be there.
That is so true. Now we're gonna move to two final questions because we're running out of time. So if you don't mind, okay, 3. We keep it to a short question and a short answer if that's okay, because we need to get into the pitching. Okay, let's go.
Thank you. I have a question for Jeff. I'm a tech recruiter, but my background is in alcohol industry as well. So, and I understand that you were saying that one of the solutions was to expect from the suppliers and specifically the major suppliers some support on the AI-driven solutions. And is there a risk of counting on those suppliers, may they be the large hotels or the large suppliers, to to impact your smaller businesses, because some businesses actually may not have the resources. And for instance, is that if a hospitality venue relies on suppliers to differentiate in terms of product, in terms of food, in terms of beverages, there may be a risk of losing out for those hospitality groups that end up having to work with the big ones to be able to compete in this AI world.
I'll give you just a really simple example of Lion, second biggest beer company in Australia, growing market share, but their overall volume is down 11%. The market's getting smaller, and they need to differentiate what they do. So for 100 years, they've had a keg turn up to a venue, and it's the only way you serve beer is through a keg. But the reality is that actually I'm a venue that has very different dynamics now, and I don't want to just buy 24 bottles or a keg. I need something that's fit for my customer base, that relies upon what sort of energy use am I going to need, because actually, how do I store the product, how do I rotate the product? And the most important thing is actually the end user, the consumer, they want to receive it at 4 degrees. They want to, so they're not going to accept the fact that the second beer was at 6 degrees and the third beer was at 8 degrees. My customer service experience was shit. What my last drink I had was crap. So actually, I want information telling me, firstly, how long does it take to cool that beer down to 4 degrees? Therefore, what sort of product range do I need to have? How many products do I want so that I can actually provide a great service
that would be a differentiator for Lion if they did that, and they need to do that because they've got a declining market. So they're getting there, they just need to be told a bit more bluntly, and they need to have the demand from every venue saying, actually, if you want me to serve your product, you need to provide it in a way with the data and the information that I want to have. It's not just serving it at the right price point. Sorry.
I got 1 second, Andrew, but I need to let her go to bed. So I think we're being a bit, rich by getting her to stay so late. So thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, everyone. I think you're muted, but I guess it's good night. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll translate that. It's good night. Thank you so much, Anu.
2 more questions.
Oh yes, 2 more questions now. Let's go over here. Oh, you go one.
Thanks, everyone. So my question was based on the example when this gentleman asked, give me a positive example of AI in hospitality. You struggled to get one. And then Jeff, you mentioned the team. 63% aren't trained or they're out of job. So that's the solution there. It's not taking people out of the AI equation. It's using AI to boost people's skills, and I think that's the trouble you get in. The more AI you have, the more you de-skill people's skills upselling. Actually, you need to use the AI to make your people better.
Yeah.
And that's where I see a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. And I think it's coming. We're at the start of the revolution. And through the necessity of, it's really bloody tough. So whether it be through drought, whether it be through famine, whether it be through real complexity, we're at that moment in time where actually I'm looking for the thing that's going to help me improve. And through crisis comes opportunity.
I just add exactly right. It's all about our attitude. That's just it. We've got to have that attitude in the way in which you implement stuff. So, yes.
There's one last question right at the back. She's been super patient all night.
Hi, thanks for giving me this opportunity. As the last question asker, I brought cupcakes, and if you don't like it, they're from Pulse. So my name's Helen, and I have a question, actually 2 questions directed to Jeff. I was a digital product designer. I make apps, and I was trying to develop a timesheet thingy for restaurant owners to make timesheets for the staff, rosters, for example. And it seems like most of the restaurants still use Excel to use their timesheets. And when I tried to pitch my thoughtful AI and very smart app to them to help them automate their workflow and help them save an afternoon to unpaid work, they told me I am a management consultant that just came up with horribly unhelpful idea and tried to mess up with their workflow. So I just want to know, why is it so hard to be hand in hand with the restaurant owners? What are some best practices to actually help them and make them understand that your tool is actually there to help them and can actually help them, except creating more work for them? And sorry. And a general.
You brought cupcakes. You can ask as many questions as you like.
Stay away from diabetes. Sorry. And I have another question. I have known a lot of friends who do service work, and my friend works in Ritz-Carlton in Singapore. This hotel chain has hosted Taylor Swift and F1 racers, but their receptionists only have 2 months of training, and it seems like it's a very common idea around the hospitality industry. What are some things that are being done about that, and what are some reasons for that situation? Thanks.
I think I'm going to answer your first question with actually a bit of an answer to your previous question as well, which is I think the biggest gap in the Sydney tech space is sales. It's not the tech, it's not the development, it's not the entrepreneurial, it's not the idea, it's the execution, it's the actual ability to get out and sell the idea. And the way that we've probably been okay, we've got a lot of opportunities to be better. And we're also, we want more resources, we want more opportunities in the space. We focus on the actual person, the outcome. So not about technology, not about solution. We talk about John, who's looking for a job, who's got 3 years of experience, and they buy John, who's going to help Clinton's mum and dad, rather than how do I get to John? Now we'll talk about all the efficiency stuff, but they're actually buying the outcome first, and I think that's really key for us, and it's probably key in your situation, rather than because they find it hard to truly. I'm in my business. I find Excel or the butcher paper or what I write it on and give it to the bookkeeper. I've done it for 20 years, so trying to change that is really hard. But if you can talk to me about the outcome right at the end, then it's easier. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So I think it's a really, really good, first question you just had just then. With my parents, I'll say from my own personal experience, they probably won't take anything unless you show it to them, right there, right then. If you think about how restaurants conduct business, right, it's all people to people, person to person. So if you have an idea about how you think you can make a restaurant owner's life easier, do some sort of software, like a piece of software, for example, you have to book in time with them, say, oh, this is how you do this. If you send them the link, even if they click on it, even if you give them a tutorial, it's not going to be very easy for them, especially if they've done, as Jeff said, the same thing for the past 20 years in Panama. That's my advice.
You bang on, and it doesn't matter if it's a call, Sheraton. For the first 7 months, all I did was walk 10Ks and pound the pavement. And guess what? Today, what do we have to do? We have to pound the pavement. We literally, I've got a great marketing team. I've got the best leads generator. It doesn't work unless somebody actually walks through the front door and says, and then we get really frustrated. It's like, hell, we've sent you 24 emails, 12 text messages. How the fuck have you missed that you don't know anything about barcats? You have to live on planet Mars not to know that what we do. And every day we find people that have never heard of us, and go, this is amazing. I love this. Yeah. Your second question was
Quality of service.
Yeah, quality of service and training, and COVID has actually helped a little bit of this, which is there's been such a gap in skill set. And what it helped us a little bit was start appealing to the older generation and baby boomers and saying, actually, and in Asia, you're more likely to be served your cappuccino in the morning from McDonald's from a 65-year-old than you are a 16-year-old McDonald's. We've valued an ageing population in Asian countries where we haven't done that in Australia. Hospitality has been seen as a young person's industry. And I think COVID actually helped us spread the workforce a little. We've got a massive job in this to do to say, and casualisation is part of that actually a barista is a perfect job for a working mum that literally wants to just work from 9 to 3. But we don't know how to market to that working mum that that's an option for them. A chef, you could keep jumping up and down saying there's not enough chefs in the country. Alternatively, you could say, let's break that chef job into 3 and say the person that comes in at 6 and just does the prep to 10 is one job. 10 till 2 does inventory management, and the 2 till 10 is the person that literally does the pass and the last little part of it. It's 3 different jobs, but that's what PACE does. It sort of starts breaking up the way you can start thinking about a shift differently, and I think that brings the expertise piece rather than trying to still rely upon this 22-year-old to be an amazing skilled worker.
That talks, I suppose, to the other opportunity of cost cutting. We've got some examples there of how we're just really utilising the workforce better and reaching out to more people that might be able to provide mutual benefits to. Great point.
Awesome, and with that, I want to say a massive thank you to the panel. Big round of applause. Jeffrey, I know you will be popular tonight, so I really appreciate you spending some time with us, and to each one of you guys, seriously, I genuinely want to say thank you. And now we're going to move on to some, we were able to put together some pitches for tonight, so you can be experienced some real products on the market. And
First up is you, Leo.
Am I?
You're
Okay.
first.
Damn. Well, thank you. I guess I'll give you a bit of a rundown on what I myself do and why I'm so passionate about, bringing the industry of hospitality and tech together. So, my name is Leo, and I'm co-founder of Helpy AI. And what we do is essentially body camera and video technology. And the first application is in the hospitality industry. So, more specifically in hotels. The problem that we have is labor cost is, as Jeffrey mentioned, is huge, and it's probably top 2 in the P&L or top single top cost in the P&L for most hospitality venues. So the solution to this that we have brought to market is a body camera, which is a digital personal assistant for the worker, the cleaner. So think of these communications, hands-free communications for the cleaners. We can automate the checklist, the quality control through video. We also can automate payroll because we have a video that we can process and know how much time they spend. So that means less times the cleaners are spending on their phones. And that's a massive unlock. So for hotels, what that looks like is faster check-in time at check-in point, because I guess a lot of the times are waiting just to check in. So where we are right now, we have a product on the market, and you can actually probably see on my shirt there's like a weird Velcro-looking thing on, because we're working on a second version of our product that is going to be basically accessible for all smartphones. You can actually use them as a smart body cam, so as a helping, because the idea behind the product is that it would help you as a worker. So it's literally your personal assistant. Now, it is humans actually behind the lens, because we know that AI is not quite there yet. We don't necessarily love talking to AI bots. So it is a human on the other side giving you on-demand training whenever you want. So my ask today is simply, well, check out our website. You can join the waitlist. We are offering free demos. And yeah, basically from our website, you can scan the QR code, you can join and sign up to get a free demo. So we'll send you a device and show you how your cleaners are basically going to be able to self-supervise themselves. So that's good. Thank you.
Next up, we have one I actually reached out to the other day, because this is an issue that I have every single day in my household. When I'm trying to figure out what to eat, I don't know what's in the cupboard. Welcome up, Cookfantry.
Thanks for the Hey everyone.
Just hold it nice and close.
My name is Umang Guliana. I'm the founder of Cookfantry. Do you remember the last time when you were really hungry and wanted to cook something for yourself? And before even stepping into the kitchen, you're going through this thought process of whether or not you have the right ingredients, whether they're expired, you have to do another grocery run. 2 months back, me and my partner were doing this on a daily basis on top of having our regular jobs. And the whole experience was really frustrating because we would forget items, we would have to do multiple grocery runs. Surely I could have taken a different approach, could have downloaded a few other apps. One app to give me recipe recommendations, another app to log into a digital pantry, scanning barcode. But instead of that, doing things manually was much faster. And that's where Cookfantry comes. Cookfantry is your personal kitchen assistant that allows you to manage your entire kitchen, start to finish. All you have to do is take your smartphone, point it towards the kitchen, take a video or image, and based on items in your kitchen, we recommend recipes you can cook from it. And with one click, you have a grocery list of items that are not present in your pantry and things you'd love to eat. We are currently in our MVP development phase, preparing for our release on 5th of August. So if this idea resonates with you, come be an early adopter, sign up on our website, and help us build a product that you will use. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll make sure that we share the links to everything after this so you can all get access to it. We've obviously added the pictures on today. Next up, we have Dhruv from Chaplin.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I'm Dhruv. I'm founder of Tablon, where we make your networking better and smarter by creating unique impressions in front of the professionals or customers you're meeting. Now you must be wondering what's a networking app doing in a hospitality event, right? So we have smart and cool products too, which helps you in getting more growth for your business, particularly your restaurants, your hotels. What is something which which a business owner needs for the restaurant? Do you have anything? Is Google reviews something which every restaurant owner dies for, and your customers is someone who's gonna check your Google review the first time, and then they're gonna make a decision that whether I should go there or not. That is where we help businesses in getting more reviews And I totally agree with you, and you also that technology is coming in, but we need to have a situation where the technology and the personal interaction stays on the same place, so that we are not giving up the personal interaction. Plus, with technology, we are making things better. That is what our app does it. I'll just show you quickly, as I did it for myself. I tried doing some online training, online demos, nothing worked. But when I started getting into restaurants, personally, that's when they got to realize that how important it is. So we have some cool stands like this. Just give me a minute. And we also have some direct stickers like this, which you can put it there. So what we do is that, just don't think that this is another QR code company. No, we actually replaces your QR code. So our QR code is basically dynamic QR codes, where you don't have to have different QR codes for all platforms or menus and everything. It's one smart standee which can work for everything. So just to give you an example is, I'll just set up a demo profile on my app. So how we bring technology and products is, we give you an application where you can set up your digital profile. So from your Google reviews to your menu to your location, literally everything and anything can be added. With simply one click, you can activate it. So I have made a dummy profile here of one of my client only, who runs a Nomu bar at Chippendale. I'll just activate it straight away like this. So how we do tap and pay, this works as the same thing. And you just activate it. And for the demo, I just saw your phone. Can you just try tapping it out? So no QR code, nothing, just tap it on over here. Yeah, and there's the link there. And you get all your details. So from website, location, reviews. So there's a link called for Google review. If you click on there, it directly lands to the business Google review page. So getting that reviews becomes very easy for you. So we make life better for all the restaurant owners, and helping them in getting more reviews easily, and making sure the customers who are going with a happy face, they are giving them a review. Because the worst thing happens here is, all the customers who are happy, they tend to forget to give you a review. But when any customer who have a bad experience, the first thing they're gonna do is go to Google and review it out. So this is where we help you in getting more and more reviews around. Also, you can add your brochures and everything, or menus and everything, so you save a lot on your paper cards and paper printing also. So that's what we do. Our app is free to use, and our smart products are there to sell. We are selling it out now, which can be customized as per your brand, as per your guidelines. And these stickers, you can stick it on the counter, and every payment gets you a new review. So that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can give that to Greeley. And that is it for the pitches. So we last minute thought we would throw in some live pitches for you guys to sort of get a sense of what's being built in Sydney. Now, I want to make a quick announcement on what you can win tonight. So if you look at the papers that are on your seat, if you flip that around, you will see that you can actually win a free Tap On card sponsored by Tap On. You can also get a 20% off Fishburners discount to work from here, co-working space where everything is happening. You get free VIP tickets to the next series of this event. It's going to happen in November, and trust me, that's going to be 3 times as big. You're going to get three free tickets, and also you get, and lastly, a free consult with AI experts from Silicon Valley. So we've put together a group of AI experts, possibly including Bill Club, to give you a free consult for your idea. So all you have to do to get this is share a video, 5 to 10-second video of this event. You need to tag, as it says there, you need to tag Fishburners, helpbecomes.com, Tap On, and Fishburners. Post, and then you get your prize in your email within, let's say, 72 hours. The got lots to do after this event. So yeah, so there you go. I'm gonna bring back on stage Lee, who's been amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. I actually, yes, big round of applause. I want to say I probably wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for you. So for you giving me that like final push, and then yeah, I want to say a big thank you. And I do want you to be my lawyer, by the way. So that's pretty much it. Anything else you want to add? Really, what do you think we should do with the industry? Where is it at?
Oh, honestly, I think we're in a really exciting time. We're obviously seeing more and more younger founders come through the ranks, but more than anything, conversations we were having before, there's a lot more corporates leaving larger sectors, seeing lots of big problems and wanting to solve them. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where this kind of takes us. I think it would be interesting to dive into a couple of the other topics a little bit deeper when it comes to the travel sector and flights and all those sorts of things that we love doing. We all love travel and tourism, so why not find out a little bit about that in more. But this basically ends the formalities of the night. We welcome obviously any questions. Definitely come and connect with us. And yeah, ask the panelists. They're absolutely fantastic, and I'm definitely going to be continuing to ask questions. So thanks again for coming, and yeah, have a great night.
Thank you so much, guys.